Our last episode left Noah and his family in the ark, with the rain waters having flooded the entire earth, and it just kind of ends. In today's episode, we see that it picks up, and they're still there, and the water, even though it only fell on the earth for 40 days and 40 nights, that water is going to take about a year to recede, and a year before they actually step off the boat, off the ark. And so this seems like a pretty pivotal moment. Like, what happens? What do you do now? And Noah was faithful to be obedient to God's plan, and did the dimensions of the ark and built it exactly the way that God had said. But now what? Like, what happens in those now we did the right thing moments, but you didn't tell us the plan for the next step? You see, Noah and his family step off the ark, and it's beautiful. And in chapter 8, verse 28, it says, So Noah came out together. Or I'm sorry, it's verse 18. So Noah came out together with his sons and his wives and his sons' wives. All of the animals and all the creatures that move along the ground and all the birds, everything that moves in the land came out of the ark, one kind after the other. So they leave, but what's the response? And in verse 20 it says, Then Noah built an altar to the Lord. I think that's beautiful. Like, there's this worship that's happening in the moment, and just that remembering of the Lord. And can you imagine the thankfulness in your heart when you realize what's happened around you? And yet, God did invite you into the plan and use you, but yes, he also spared you, showed great mercy upon Noah and his family's life. And the appropriate response was to worship and to have this sacrifice back to the Lord. And you can see the Lord's response back to that. In verse 21, it says, The Lord smelled the pleasing aroma and said in his heart, Never again will I curse the ground because of humans, even though every inclination of the human heart is evil from childhood. So the flood did not wipe out the condition of the human heart. Like, the flood kept some things at bay, but at the same time, there's still evil creatures. We're not in Paradise 2.0. There's still difficulty, yet God was so gracious and merciful to still show this picture of redemption, but it's not quite complete in our story. But when they do come off the ark, God reiterates a beautiful promise. I'm going to read it for you, and I want to see if you can see the familiarity in it just a couple chapters later from when God was creating the heavens and the earth. And God says to Noah and his family in 9:7, As for you, be fruitful and increase in number, multiply on the earth and increase upon it. Then God said to Noah and to his sons with him, I will establish my covenant with you and with your descendants after you. And he keeps going. And what I love about this is the original plan has not changed. Like, man has been evil, man has been wicked, and God responded back in a very serious way. However, the plan is still moving forward. The original command to be fruitful and increase in number on the earth is still there. God doesn't change his mind. Everything is still set in motion. And he reiterates the promise that he gave to Adam and Eve in the garden, even in perfection, to Noah and to his family. And then on top of it, which I love, because there's so many times in life when faith is not always by sight, right? It's seen with different eyes. Things that are eternal are unseen. But yet God still gives Noah and his family this beautiful sign, something we can still see today. So in chapter 9, verse 12, it says, And God said, This is a sign of the covenant I am making between me and you and every living creature with you, a covenant for all generations to come. I have set my rainbow in the clouds, and it will be the sign of the covenant between me and the earth. Whenever I bring clouds on the earth and the rainbow appears in the clouds, I will remember my covenant between me and you and all the living creatures of the earth. And never again will the waters become a flood to destroy all life. When the rainbow appears in the clouds, I will see it and remember the everlasting covenant. Like, how cool is that? You get a sign, and everybody loves rainbows. We talk about like hearts, rainbows, butterflies, and it's almost a sarcastic thing, but like, how cool is that? And just to take that moment of pause to say, I remember God's goodness, and I remember what God did, and even though we are evil, that he still had a plan, and he still prepared a way, and his plan of redemption is going to move forward. That rainbow is just one glimpse and one sign of his beautiful promises and his beautiful covenant. Great thing to remember.